Phil, can you hear me? Hey, I cannot hear you on this, so I'm gonna.
Oh, they had crew back in the day. How long he stayed in Jacksonville for several years. Yeah, played for a long time. Played 11 years in pro. Right, 4.24. Might be the fastest anybody's ever ran a 4. He caught some good balls last year. Oh, hey, sir. Close me. Hi, Allison. What do you have for supper tonight? Crazy dog. Call me. Well, yes. Yeah, Carolina,
As we prepare for our meeting, please silence your devices.
Hey, Glenn, didn't see you today.
And, the clips all in one kind of deal. I think people will come out there and see the people and their clips. Sorry. It makes sense. Charging people $10 a pickup load. Well, I have cows in Lawrence, is why. They go crazy. I think the Lord would put our clips on Friday. Would he make it a weekend thing?
Hey, Don, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? You can?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, it works on the iPad. So
Okay, thank
I
you.
guess it was a setting on the phone. All right, good deal.
Is there anyone who's going to wish to speak during the your remarks from visitors? If you would, please fill out a form and turn that in to staff. Councilman Robinson, can you hear me?
Can.
Great. All right. At this time, the mayor will call to order the meeting for the regular city council meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. Tuesday, March the 5th, 2024, in City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. Have with us in the chambers District 2, Grady Simpson. We have District 3, Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem. We have District 5, Phil Robinson, who is remote with us this evening and running a little bit late. My understanding is District 4, Stephanie Holmes Thomas, but our Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, but she will be with us shortly. At this time, if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and also the invocation. Grady, would you lead us in invocation?
Yes, Mayor. Bow our heads, please. Father God, we come giving you thanks for this day, for this moment and time. We ask always for your presence and your guidance. Help us to recognize that you're already present and that we need to follow your way in how we use good governance for the city of Terrell. Protect and keep the great leaders of our nation and all of those who are striving to make Terrell and our country a better place. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Next on our agenda is mayor and council community recognition and events. Council, we had a couple of deaths locally here that I just want to take a moment and recognize. Reggie Pegram has passed, and his services will be held on Friday. And also Mrs. Furlow, she just had her funeral services. So to both of those families, on behalf of the mayor and the council, our condolences to all. The mayor would like to take this moment too and introduce someone who is a resident of Terrell. Can't vote yet, but she will one of these days. I was at a Black History event with the Terrell Independent School District, and this little girl was amazing, and I asked her to come. Would she please come to the council and do her little speech for us? And she said she would be glad to, but I think she's going to need to come up here to the mayor. Here we go. And take over my mic. Yes. So I was so impressed that I said, would you mind coming to the council and saying, and this is a reminder of what we're doing, council members. We're making decisions and policy for this young lady for someday when she gets to be, hopefully, in our seat, maybe in the mayor's seat. We have done our work and makes it easier for the decisions for her. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Tegan Sanders, and you go ahead and do your little performance, please.
Hey, black child, do you know who you are, who you really are, who you can be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, black child, do you know where you are going, where you're really going? Do you know that you can learn what you want to learn if you try to learn what you can learn? Hey, black child, did you know that you were strong? I mean, really strong. Do you know that you can do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, black child, be what you can be. Learn what you must learn. Do what you must do. And tomorrow, our nation will be what you want it to be.
All right.
Bye.
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? So taking, oh yeah. She's gonna take the councilwoman's cake. Give her the whole jar. Let her have the whole jar. Yeah. Oh, she's gonna take it too. Well, so y'all come out here and take a picture. Y'all come forward and we're gonna take a photo, please.
Look at my handy.
So I know I gave you one of my pins that I was wearing the other night, right? But this is the one that I gave out for our sesquicentennial. This is the 150 years of celebrating the city of Terrell. So I'd like to give you this one too, okay? There you go. Now let's stand here and take a photo. Can we take a? Isn't she something?
Mom, you ought to be real proud. That was awesome. Thank you. New city manager there.
I know, right? She could be mayor or city manager, I think, at some point in the future. Is there anyone else who has community recognition of events? Yes.
I just give you one real quick. I want to thank the water department because we did have a concern about some water coming in from our provider, North Texas Municipal Water District, late yesterday. And our crews frankly just worked all the way through the night to make sure that we were managing that correctly. We ended up with no citizen complaints based on that. And that's DJ Brower, and that's all the folks over in our water department who, folks like Dick Boyd, who worked on that all night, Dustin Starr, and we really appreciate their work. And just want to thank them for that because it takes a kind of a relentless, constant energy to make sure that our citizens are getting the best that they can. And we proved that last night. So thanks to the crews for working all night last night.
Great.
And Mayor, I want to put in a plug for our city parks department. I see Glenn is here, but as we've seen the weather quickly warm up, we have seen a increase again at our city parks, and so it's always really nice to see our community members, whether it's the little ones on bikes or those walking their dogs, just playing soccer, practicing football at our different parks. It's really nice to see the different additions and amenities, whether it's benches or just improved sidewalks. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor. I know you made mention of Reggie Pegram, but as a special friend of mine, I just can't go without saying something about Reggie. He and I was like brothers. We literally fought each other, argued, got along, mowed each other's yards. And, you know, Reggie was, he was like that big brother of mine, and very fiery, always pushing me around. But we got a lot of things done. And just to tell you a quick story, he and I was just making a ride around town one day, and he looked at me, he said, Grady, he said, you know, why don't we get the Mack Center at Terrell High School changed to Bernard Derrick complex, athletic complex. And I kind of stopped the car and I looked at him. And we just started the process, and now that dream has come true. You know, the mayor and I and Reggie, we were all aware. We was kind of on well, not exactly on the football field, but we was kind of around the area when Bernard Derrick got struck by lightning. And now the Mack Center is called the Bernard Derrick Athletic Complex. And Reggie Pegram was the one who spearheaded that and fought real hard, amongst other issues that I can speak about. But that's one of the things that I just like to say about him. He's going to be missed. He's going to be missed very much. And I think about him every day.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? All right, at this time, we're going to hear remarks from visitors, if we have any. Do we have anyone? Oh, yeah, we do, right here. Marcus White, if you would please come forward. And if you would please just say your name and address when you get up to the mic, and then 3 minutes.
My name is Marcus White. I live at 116 William Street here in Terrell. And I'm here about the Dusk to Dawn sign at the park at Breezy Hill. As you can see, right now it's beginning to be dawn, and I don't get off work till around 5-ish, and I like to take my daughter to the park and work on her basketball game after I get off. So if the Dusk to Dawn sign applies to the Breezy Hill Park, I don't have time to be up there because I got to leave at dawn, right? So I'm asking to lift that from the Breezy Hill Park. As you know, you done did a great job with the park, with the Jamie Foxx deal and everything. And now you're starting to get a lot of people to come up there and play basketball and so on and so on. And I just feel like Dusk to Dawn is not enough time for us to do what we need to do at the park with our kids as well, as far as just the kids as well. I mean, it would be a great deal for that to be lifted, and we can do what we need to do, because I have, in my mind, also great things to do at that park with the kids. So it's just something that I wish you guys could consider.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for your comments, and we appreciate it. We'll have staff get back with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right. No one? Okay. At this time, we will go over our boards and commissions. This will be handled by our City Secretary, Don Stahl.
Mayor and council, in your packet are the March through May 2024 calendars. We've gone over these several times, and I've just made one change to those, and that is the utility rates workshop that we will have on Friday, May 17th. It will begin at 11 a.m. And it will go through 5 p.m.
Okay. On the calendars, I want to make sure that not only the council members are aware, but our citizens are aware of April the 8th, which is going to be the solar eclipse. And it's my understanding that there may be media in Terrell for the event, and that they may be at stationed around the city. And so it might be a good idea if the council would divvy those up, because the mayor can't be at all of the locations. I may pick a location to be at, and then if y'all are in town, if y'all would handle one of them, that'd be great. So could we reach out to Sharon Harper and see where those are going to be, and then maybe we can split that up amongst all of us. That way, if there's media there.
Not a problem. Yes, sir.
Our next item on the agenda is, by the way, on the calendars, on the meetings, if you would please take a look at that, and as soon as possible get back with Don if there is a problem with that, so that we can reschedule those meetings. Next item on the agenda, discuss and consider appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this will be handled by our City Secretary, Don Stahl.
Yes, Mayor and council, in your packet is the Planning and Zoning Commission roster. Clint Huey resigned, and so that is an open position that needs to be filled. There are several applications attached, and this falls under the oversight of Mayrani Velasquez.
Okay, Councilwoman.
Yes, I will make a motion to appoint Lori Lindsay to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion from Mayrani Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to appoint Lori Lindsay to our Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is discuss and consider appointments to the Building Standards Commission.
Mayor and council.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
In your packet is the Building Standards Commission roster. We have 2 positions on that board that need to be filled, and this falls under the oversight of Phil Robinson.
Okay. Councilman, do you have someone you'd like to
Mayor,
appoint? Yes.
Mayor, I'm still vetting candidates for
Okay.
this particular position, so we'll postpone this for now.
Okay, your motion is to postpone?
Yeah, I'd like to motion to postpone the vote.
Okay. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Phil Robinson, District 5, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, to postpone our appointment to the Building and Standards Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. For the record, we do have with us now Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 4. Our next item on the agenda, discuss and consider the Library Advisory Board reappointments. This again will be handled by our City Secretary, Don Stahl.
Yes, Mayor and Council, in your packet is this information regarding the Library Advisory Board. We have 4 members that terms are up. They were up in February, and all 4 would like to be reappointed, and that is Donna Renee Anderson, Vicki Badgett, Beverly Bond, yes. And this falls under the oversight of Stephanie Holmes Thomas.
All right. Ms. Thomas, do you have a motion, or?
I'm always excited when people want to continue to serve our community, so, thank you. I'm super excited when people want to continue to work and serve in our community, but I ask that we do the same thing. I always like to make that personal contact with them, give them their kudos, and make sure we're all on the same page. And I'd like to also postpone this as well, if that could be a motion.
Okay. I have a motion from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 4, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to postpone the appointment to the Library Advisory Board until our next meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda, discuss zoning board of adjustments update. This is going to be handled by our city engineer, Chris Knapp.
Council, Mayor, at the last council meeting, it was brought up about the status and the information about the zoning board of adjustments committee. So what I wanted to do tonight is just bring for you, talk about what the committee is. This is going to be a little bit of a team effort with Mr. Sims and myself to talk about some of the facts and figures as we go through this. So, hello?
Apologies, it's clearing my throat. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it's on.
Councilman, can you see?
Yeah, I can see. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great.
All righty. So the zoning board members here before you there are 7 members there, along with the appointed date and the term of expiration. Matthew Hancock is the chairman. Deanna Boyd is the vice chairman. One of the curiosity things was when I started looking at this, if you look at the term expiration date, they're all in 25. So there's going to be a significant change and a lot of, depending on whether they continue or not. So just wanted to recognize that the term of their service is 2 years, and this ordinance of 2357 is what forms in the backing of the ZBA. So we'll talk about what warrants a zone change. As you know, this mostly regulated by the state and the rules and regulations of that. But basically, some of the questions that you're generally asked to determine whether you apply for a zone change. Decide if the appeal is in order against the appropriate zoning district ordinance. Determine if the ZBA board is the appropriate level for the subject appealed against the ordinance. And does the appeal and request for variance offer a hardship to the subject property and zoning ordinance? So we'll get into a little bit more about that, but that's kind of the basics of that.
And Chris, I'm going to go ahead and hop in here for a minute and say, okay, so why did Chris put the Texas Local Government Code on here? Unlike many of our boards and commissions and things that we do, this one is run more out of state law than anything else that we do. And one of the important things to remember is there's a state definition and a state idea there about what the word hardship means. So we often get into these discussions, and Greg will have to kind of inform us and fill in some of the details about, well, okay, legally speaking, what's a hardship and what does that mean? That's one of the most important things to keep in mind for these folks who are serving on your zoning board of adjustments. The other part of it is that whenever somebody makes a application to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, it instantly becomes a legal topic for the City of Terrell because the appeals to those do not go to the Terrell City Council. The appeals to those go instead to district court. And so you have to remember that when somebody goes through ZBA, they're getting something that's a final decision. Nothing else that you delegate to a board is a final decision other than the items that go to the ZBA. Everything else eventually really comes back to the city council. So there's a lot of nuances there, and I want to underline there is, number one, it has to meet a legal qualification of hardship, and number two, it is inherently a legal process that involves a review by our attorney team because you have to make sure that we're on solid ground if we end up going to district court, because we want to make sure that we don't make a mistake in that process because it is a legal process. So anyhow, just a little interjection there. Take it away, Chris.
May I add one more thing, Mike? And thank you for and I think Mike has laid it out very well. But one of the things when we talk about a hardship, what is a hardship? Well, I can tell you what's not a hardship is financial matters. If it say, well, I can't afford to comply with the ordinance, that's not a hardship. And that can't be considered a hardship. On the other hand, when we're dealing with what the law and the local government calls a quasi-judicial board, which is really what this is. As Mike said, there's no appeal anywhere but to district court or county court at law, perhaps in the case of our county. So what the decision they make has to comport with the local government code to avoid being challenged up the road by a county court at law or a district court. We have had very good success with our appeals, the few that we've had. They've been very successful. I can't personally think of one offhand that was overturned. So we want to continue that, but it's always important to remember that when you appoint someone to this board, this is a quasi-judicial board, and it will render judgments much the same way a court would. Thank you, Mike.
So Greg led into the next slide. He did very well. I didn't even have to prompt him for this. But basically, just as Greg was stating, this board has some very strict guidelines and has a very strong approval process. And but here's some limitations of the board, as I won't read these because he's touched on several of them, but there's some things that they just cannot do. And so, such as grant a variance to any type of prohibited signage, variance adopted by the building and electrical code, so that might jeopardize any personal or safety equipment or houses, et cetera. So these are the limitations from there, pretty much as we talked about. The zoning fee, talked about what's the cost of it. It's $300 to appeal to the ZBA. That's the acronym that we use. This $300 is part of the rates fee in the ordinance of 2929 that was approved in September of 22. So we're coming up right up on 2 years that the rates have not been evaluated, but that's where that $300 for the appeal. So now we're getting to what's the history? How often do we meet? How many cases? Kind of give you a feel how many numbers, as you see, since 2016. So we're right in line, as it shows a little bit of a decline as you see the years. In 2024, we've had none. The last time we met was August of '23. So we just simply haven't got any requests for any zone changes. And our last slide, talking about what's the staff involvement in making when someone presents a request. It's estimated that we got anywhere, depending on the situation, 10 to 20 man hours of staff personnel that goes into evaluating. Very much of what Greg touched on, when we get a request, we definitely get legal involved. So it is a team effort in evaluating each of the requests. It's not just one or two deciding. When it does proceed on, it's just very similar to the city council in a public notice. We have 2-week notifications. The buffer letters that we send out within 200 feet of the zone area and the change is very similar to what you've seen in the past. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. So how would we, as city council, mayor and council, be able to readjust the staggering of the terms so that we don't have what's fixing to occur in 2025? Is that state statute or is that us?
Some of it's a little bit of us from the standpoint where we have delays in filling positions and actually when they start their service. So there might be a lag, such as we've had a lag in the P&Z that we're just now filling. So there's a minimum 2-month lag that we've seen. So you can start to see the staggering effect. I'm not sure on this one. I haven't researched it that much. When I saw the expiration, that's when I was like, well.
Right. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention because otherwise we wouldn't have known.
Yeah, so I would just say one of the items in our strategic plan is for the city secretary to be helping us through the process of evaluating all of our boards and commissions. So we'll recognize right off that you're talking about a board where the service period, the term is a 2-year term, and you get 3 2-year terms because we also have term limits. So one of the things that we're going to be asking you guys to consider later this summer is, do we want to move all of our boards and commissions to 3-year terms, right? Because that would match city council service, and it would give you a situation where, imagine you get appointed to one of these boards, you don't really know a lot about it, you're kind of a rookie, it takes you a little bit of time to kind of get used to it. And then all of a sudden, okay, now we need a chairman or a chairwoman, and it takes a couple of years to get used to doing that. Well, all of a sudden, you're only serving a total of 6 years on a board. You may cycle off by the time you've only had, 20 meetings or so. And so it's hard to generate veteran board members that way. So one of the things that at least staff is looking at is, do you want to change so that all your boards and commission match the city council? You guys can serve a total of 9 years before you have to rotate off city council, and maybe we should do that with the other boards. That would help because that would give us a little bit more expertise there. I think one of the other questions out there was the question about, okay, well, when will they next meet? Well, that's really up to our citizens. If we get a person who is in the situation of, hey, I've got a lot. The lot has a strange shape. I'd like to put a restaurant on it, but it doesn't fit because I have XYZ problem. Can I get a variance on a rear yard setback or a variance on a side yard setback or something like that? Well, we need that. That has to come forward. So they really meet on an as-needed basis, and that creates a situation where when that comes into Chris's shop, what he's doing is identifying, okay, I've got a request for a ZBA item, and he'll try to see if it matches up with somebody else's request, so we can do 2 at the same time, and just set his monthly meeting, have to contact all of the board members and see when they can meet, and then we knock that work out and actually do that board meeting. So again, having the legal review adds some process to it, but my guess is by the time we get to the end of the year, we'll have what we have normally seen. 3 or 4 folks will come forward. Some of them will be deemed valid and move forward, and some of them may get redirected somewhere else. So that's a little staff summary on it.
Would we be within our right to take the 7 current members and just draw and give them an additional 2 years or 3 years or maybe 4 of them? And again, I'm going to ask that because this is going to fall under our Councilman Phil Robinson, for him to work with staff to figure out how we might be able to, what our options are for the council and what is he comfortable with doing with this board, and then getting back with the mayor and the rest of the council to see if we can't figure something out on that. The other thing is, when we talk about staff man hours, what does that mean dollar-wise? What are we talking about hourly, so that we have some kind of idea of what 10-hour man hours means, or 20? And you don't have to answer tonight, but if you would, please get that information to the council so that they have an idea of what we're talking about when we see 10 or 20 hours or 15 hours. It doesn't have to be exact.
Right.
But a ballpark.
Yeah.
Phil, did you have something? Councilman?
Yes, Mayor, I have quite a few questions, actually.
Okay.
As this board is, appointment to it is under my purview. So first question, I have a lot of citizens reach out to me about how this process works. And usually as soon as they hear the fee, the $300 fee, and it's not even a guarantee that they'll, that it'll be found in their favor, they balk at it because they feel like it's too high of a risk for, too little payoff potentially. So I wanted to see, how do we arrive at that $300 fee, and is that something that we just kind of did arbitrarily, or what is the thinking behind it?
So I'm going to fail to remember the number before September of 2022. I'm going to say it was something in the $250 to $200 range, and we went up to the $300 level. We typically do that, and we did again in this case because we take a look at what other cities around us are doing. So again, I'm not going to be able to quote that for you off the top of my head, but this is generally in line with what we see other cities do with an application of that type.
I can say, Mike, that in talking to some of the board members, they've indicated to me that they feel that it's one of the primary reasons we haven't had a meeting since August of last year, is it seems to be a barrier for entry for a lot of people. I know that Greg mentioned that financial hardship isn't considered a hardship in this case. I'd like some clarity around that. It seems like that would be the primary hardship in these cases.
Yeah, that's under the local government code, Councilman. The local government code sets out the basis of a hardship. I'll be glad to get with you and share that with you at your convenience sometime if you'd like to just get with me one-on-one, and I'll be glad to go through.
What other hardship might there be that we'd be addressing other than financial hardships?
I can tell you a good example of one we see quite a bit. Maybe somebody has a lot that is not buildable under our current zoning because of setbacks or whatever. That they could go in and perhaps ask for a variance to, instead of having a 20-foot setback, have a 17-foot setback or something of those natures. And it allows houses to be built on lots that otherwise wouldn't be buildable at all. That would be one example of it. We see that one quite a bit.
That makes sense. I think that sort of one of the ones I hear a lot from our citizens attempting to start a small business is related to the masonry code, and the need to have the stucco up a certain number of feet on the side of the building. And a lot of times what they mention is that it would be extremely cost prohibitive for them to start their business to have to go through the process of putting the stucco in place. I guess on one level that's a financial issue, but it's also sort of it's an aesthetic choice we've made. But would that be something that could be addressed via this board?
It would be illegal under state law to address a topic like that under this code, because this code is not allowed to look at any financial aspect of it. When you come forward and you say, hey, I want to build with this aesthetic approach as opposed to that aesthetic approach, or I want to use this building material as opposed to that building material, that's not meeting the state law definition of hardship. They're looking under the state law side of it. And again, in my mind, it's always easiest to use the configuration of the lot issue. It comes up in other topics as well, but it comes up quite often with a configuration of the lot. Oh, I have a drainage problem in the back of my yard. I have a bit of floodplain. If I have to extend that fire lane into that floodplain, I'm going to have to do remediation, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, can I change something about the lot or something about the building so that my fire lane stays out of the floodplain? Aha, that's a hardship because your lot has a floodplain on it that maybe isn't located in other locations, right? So that's more what it's thinking. And what I would say is, to me, if you're running into folks in the community who are expressing, or maybe the board chairman is running into folks in the community who are thinking, hey, I'd like to use the ZBA to do such and such, I'd really just love to send them into staff and let staff talk to them, because it may be that they don't have a topic that's for ZBA. They may have a topic that is appropriate to be resolved in some other manner. And so if that communication just could get directly to us, then we may have other ways of solving the problem. So for example, every now and then you'll see us do these standalone development agreements on individual lots. Those are a place where people have come forward from time to time and said, hey, I have an individual lot. I'd like to do such and such with it. We just saw one of these that's the 34-acre lot development close to the corner of West End and Easton. They said, hey, we have these problems. We got the railroad track behind us. Staff worked with them, and after we worked with them for a while, we figured out a solution that was associated with the railroad tracks on the backside of it. And now they're in a development agreement that really does a better job of addressing their topic in a way that is tailored to the land and not stuck in the state law problem that the ZBA has. ZBA is just a tough fit because of the legal issue. And so what I'd say is, if you're running into somebody, if any of the council members are running into somebody, or the board members are running into somebody who are concerned about how to use ZBA, send them into Chris Knapp, send them into Jana Wampler, send them into one of our staff folks here, and we'll get them helped out and find the right solution. Sometimes sometimes we're trying to use a screwdriver when we should use a hammer,
Let me add this too to
Sure.
what Mike's already said. I'll admit we haven't had a ZBA meeting lately. We haven't had a need for one. But that's not to say we haven't had ZBA meetings in the past. I wanted Councilman Robinson, in fact, all of the council and the public to know the individuals that are serving on that board right now are extremely competent. I've been in their meetings. We've had some, I should say, some very controversial issues come up that they've had to deal with, and they've done it very effectively. And I think we can all be pleased with the job that they're doing. So while we may need to stagger their terms, we certainly want to try to keep all of them for as long as we can, because they're doing a tremendous job.
We do, but I would like to explore the idea of potentially lowering the fee, just because of the reports that have been provided to me about it being a cost prohibitive price to present something to the DBA. And what I'm hearing from Mike is, just so I understand, I understand that the presenting something as a financial hardship is a no-go, but if they present it as some other type of problem, you know what I mean? I think you could kind of it's all in kind of how you present it to the board, I guess. If you present it and say, I'd rather aesthetically have it look like this as opposed to this, I guess that wouldn't necessarily be a hardship, but it would be you would sort of circumvent the financial hardship aspect of the legal ramifications there, right?
Yeah. So go ahead, Mike.
I guess what I'd say is, because we're tied to state law, it becomes a very strict process. So every now and again, we'll have Greg or, and I guess we've done this with Marigale, I think maybe once, but we've had the attorney team go to ZBA, and I'm going to say it's probably a half an hour presentation from the lawyers about, what are we doing? How do we manage it? What are the state laws involved? And we can certainly get you that longer orientation. The short version of it is just to say, you have to be looking at the state law, and you have to ask yourself, is this a hardship because it's expensive to do a thing, or is this a hardship because there's something inherently that you can't write zoning regulations to cover every particular circumstance. There's a very famous case out of a central Texas city where somebody had a 150-year-old oak tree in their backyard, and they're trying to do something with the fence and the pool and blah, 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 and the back porch. And they're saying, hey, I can't meet all of your standards because one of your standards tells me I can't touch the oak tree, and the other standard tells me I have to be this far away from the fence and that far away from blah, 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 the back porch. And, okay, now that's a perfect ZBA item because you have the conflict between the tree ordinance and the conflict with the city ordinance related to buffering and screening and all that sort of good stuff. That's the hardship idea state law is looking for. But yeah, it's a longer presentation than just kind of that verbal part of it, but that's the general idea.
So,
If you'd like sometime, if at your convenience, Councilman, I'd be glad to meet with you and go through the entire litany of what constitutes a hardship and the things that the ZBA can consider in granting a hardship. I'd be glad to do that.
I would like that, Greg. I would like to go through that with you sort of in the context of how can we help our citizens? What can we do to make things easier for them from a business standpoint? Not looking at it as in a prohibitive way, just trying to figure out what are some ways that we can use the ZBA to be helpful. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sure, and again, I'll be glad to visit with you. You just tell me when you'd be available, and I'll be glad to do that.
We'll talk. Thanks, Greg.
Sure.
Councilman, I would like to say that, I'm hoping that the reason why we haven't had as many meetings is because our staff is trying to work with these individuals to work out the problem so that we can either do it through a plan development or some other mechanism to reach a win-win for the city and the individual who has issues, right? But remember, the ZBA is the last recourse for those individuals. When they've been to staff, they've been to the council, and they've said no, the last resort for them is to go to the ZBA, because once they go to ZBA, that's final. And if they override the council, then they override the council, and there's really nothing we can do about it. So it's set there as a mechanism for them to use to find a resolution to the issue that they might have within the city. So again, reach out to staff, and staff, y'all reach out to Councilmember Robinson and see what we can work out.
Mayor, when I think of, I heard staff has done some research on what other cities are doing, and we've had this conversation in the past, but what I don't recall if we've discussed is like a tiered approach to the fees, and if that's something that, because these, we're following, it's not a city, partially maybe, but if the government code allows for like a tiered approach, and I'll give an example of why I might look at a tiered approach for the price tag here. Let's say we have a community member that for some reason did not come to City Hall, and they were looking to, they built or they added a short like garage, just like a garage cover, wooden garage cover for their parking lot area. And for some reason, they did not come to City Hall and go through the proper paperwork. Code compliance saw that was added, and they received a letter from code compliance to say, you need to have that removed because it does not fit the policies that we have in place, maybe safety reasons as well. Well, if they wanted to go through ZBA and they're a tenant, a homeowner with maybe not as much flexible funds, realizing they did not go through the proper procedures, but they may not be able to go through ZBA with this price tag. So that's the type of example that I'm looking at. And once again, is this truly their last resort? Is there a way to work with that homeowner before, that's been torn down after they've spent money, having not gone through the proper procedures?
my first reaction there is the tier would have to have some very definitive definitions as what would define tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever, how many tiers you elect to participate with. But the tier would have to have some definitive definition of what, or everybody would just try to go in at tier 1, which is the cheapest. Let's just say tier 1 is the cheapest. And everybody would have their own interpretation and definition of what that would be. So we'd need guidance on that. I will tell you, just in some real quick, around the neighborhood, checking on prices, we were right in the same. Two of them were higher, and we didn't do an extensive study, but we just quickly, where we at, where we stand with the 300. Several of them were 500.
Mayor, if you would, my takeaway from this would be, I certainly hear folks on council wanting to analyze a little bit more. We've got one follow-up meeting between city attorney and a council person. That's always good. And then I'll commit to you that over, not this month, but in a future month, it's a normal process for us to do some comparing of fees and studying of fees. We can just put this on the list to say, hey, is this a fee that we want to make an alteration to? And that's a regular business item for y'all to look at anyway. We'll be happy to bring that back after a little bit more study on fees.
Okay. Well, you know what?
I have one final point, if I may.
Phil, your video cut on us.
It did? Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
we can't see you.
You can't see me.
There you are.
We can. Now we
Okay.
can.
You can see me now?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Apologies. One final point. In the future, when we're going to address something related to a specific board, I feel it'd be somewhat appropriate to reach out to that board, perhaps have the chairman of the board to answer any questions or to address any of our concerns. I know some members of the board reached out to me wondering why we were having a meeting to discuss the ZBA with no ZBA members present. Just in the future, I think it might be a good point of, just best practice to have maybe the chairman invited to the meeting.
There was some discussion at one point that we've had. I think Mike and I may have had it to meet with each of the boards. However, that's another meeting for the council, and y'all are trying to get less meetings instead of more meetings. I'm comfortable. We can go every week if you want to. Again, we're trying to be mindful of everybody's time, and I think that's a great idea, Phil. It has come up before, and I'll have Mike look into that and see if we can't figure something out. I agree with you.
Yes, sir.
Be good. All right.
Happy to do that.
All right. Next on the agenda, thank you. Next on the agenda, Assistant City Attorney Greg Schumpert with Resolution 2061.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, we bring to you tonight Resolution number 2149.
Oh,
I believe that's the one.
I have
I
2061.
believe if you look further down there, you'll see 2149. I believe that's the correct one, Mr. Mayor. We had a typo.
Okay, no, you do what, yeah, do what one we need.
2149, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, canceling the May 4th, 2024 general election for the purpose of electing a council member for District Number 4 for the City of Terrell, Texas, and declaring the unopposed candidate for council member for District Number 4 elected to office. Or I guess in this case, re-elected to office. And that would be apply in this case to Ms. Stephanie Holmes Thomas, who is our current member of District Number 4. She sought re-election. There was no opponent. Therefore, there's no need for an election. We can, by this resolution, cancel that election and declare her elected.
Thank you very much, and, yes.
Mayor, just for clarification there, it also sets a date for her to take the oath of office, and so you can see that date on there. That's that May 14th date, 2024. So that's a part of this as well. It sets the date for a swearing in.
Well,
We want to know when we swear you in.
okay. Are you good with that, Councilwoman?
That date is not a good date.
Oh, not a good date. Can we amend it?
May I suggest that we change it to the first available meeting after the election?
Great.
Is that okay? Perfect. All right, okay. Greg, is that wording going to be okay? First available meeting after the election.
That would be correct.
Awesome.
Okay. And since this is yours, Ms. Holmes Thomas, you want to make a motion?
I want to make sure that you got that ordinance, that resolution number corrected, Mayor.
I got mine, I wrote mine. It's 2149.
And I need to make sure I can make this a
Yes.
motion, and I don't have to recuse myself, right?
You
Well,
good?
you can do it. You've certainly been reelected,
Yeah.
so go right ahead.
All right, I just want to say I'm happy to have the opportunity to continue to serve for 3 more years, and I'm looking forward to what we can do in the next 3 years for this community and this great city. And it's just great working with you guys, and I want to continue that.
Wonderful.
So, to the mayor and the council, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2149
With the correction that
with the correction of swearing in date,
the first,
the first available date after May 14th. Was that okay the way I made that?
yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fine.
So we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 4, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve Resolution 2149 with the correction of the office being sworn, the officer being sworn in on the first available date after the election. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous consent of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 6.1, discuss and consider an agreement with Spray-in-Place Solutions for the inspection and repair of a 10-inch sanitary sewer line under a Union Pacific Railroad spur track in an amount not to exceed $148,108, and authorize the city manager to execute the related contract. This is going to be handled by our Utilities Director, DJ Brower.
Good evening, council persons, and I want to thank you for giving this opportunity. I am requesting a approval and authorization for the city manager to sign a contract with Spray-in-Place Solutions. This is for they are a sole source provider of underground pipe repairs. This is a process where they clean the pipe. They will spray on an epoxy coating that's actually going to be smoother than what the original pipe was. So hopefully it'll increase the carrying capacity just a little bit at least. And it's supposed to be allow that pipe, once it's sprayed in place, to have another 75 years of life for it without having to open cut, remove, and replace. They will do this between the 2 manholes that are on either side of the railroad track. We have an existing 10-inch cast iron pipe there. In your packet, there is that's the contract where they've given us a price of $148,108. The line is on basically if you extend University Drive to the east, it's going right on the north side of the new construction that's being built right now for the Frito-Lay project. And we cross the railroad spur, and it's manholes 215 and 216. The next page gives the existing camera report, and it's 100 feet between manholes. Well, that camera could only go about 49 feet into that, and it had to stop because of all the corrosion and the constriction that in there. The next one, we go to the other side, they were only able to go 5 feet before the camera was blocked. So we've got about 50 feet of it that has a very small diameter opening. We're going to clean that all out, and we're going to make it so we have the full 10-inch capacity. They will do the bypass pumping and traffic safety and all that stuff. And and then after they do that work, we're going to go back and see that yellow highlighted lines. We're going to video camera all that line all the way down to the 1200 block of Francis Street to see if there's any other issues with that sewer line that may be causing blockage as to why that wastewater backs up into the 1200 block of Francis Street and spews out into their street and into their yard. So we can hopefully eliminate that in the future. So I am requesting, Councilman, your approval on the contract and authorize the city manager to do that. Are there any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for our Utilities Director on this?
I just want clarification. So there's a sewer line under the railroad here that's going
Yes.
in west that's causing the problem and causing that bag up.
Yeah. It was identified as a constriction years ago, and we were been trying to find a boring contractor to put a new pipe under there. We've had numerous discussions. People said they're gonna take a look at it. They look at it, they never give us a price back. We've been trying to find a cost-effective solution for it since before I started, and we finally found one.
Yeah, this dates back a while. Mike McKeskin and Steve Rogers have both had opportunity to work on it. It's been very, very frustrating. Number one, it's been very frustrating for the folks who live on Catherine and Francis because they get impacted by sewer overflows during storm events. Number two, it's frustrating for staff because we've been trying to solve a problem where we get blocked by contractors who don't want to mess with the railroad track. And we've had trouble with Union Pacific, that location, and it's just very difficult in that constrained spot right there between our businesses and the railroad track to get somebody to do work because it's just a very awkward place to do work and you have to mess with the railroad track to do it. So this is an innovative way of doing it. It's a leading technology, and I really, really appreciate Mr. Brower bringing it forward because I tell you, this has been a real difficult one. I've talked to Grady Simpson and I stopped outside and talked to some folks on Francis. Councilman Velasquez has brought it forward more times than I can remember about when are we going to be able to solve this problem. And here we figured out an innovative technology available to us to be able to address this location. So my hat's off to DJ Brower because we really, I think, have a good opportunity here.
We will not be a guinea pig. They've already done work in the city of Addison, just in Dallas County. They also do a lot of work down in Houston, and they've done work in New York City and other areas around the country where they've improved existing pipes that have had damages and increased the carrying capacity. Where they gave me one example where there was a place in New York, they were getting a break a month, basically, after they did their repairs. They hadn't gotten a break in 4 years.
Cool. So it sounds like technology has caught up with us being able to handle our problems. So good. Anybody else?
So this seems like it's just gonna clean coastal line, make it stronger, where you don't have that.
Correct. From the inside, it puts a lining that we use the cast iron as a encasement pipe, but then we're basically putting a reinforcing epoxy fiberglass reinforcing coat on the inside of it, similar to how a boat is made. You know, you have the fiberglass shell and you have a fiberglass insides, and it's a much stronger system when you have the two different materials in there.
And with the history of this company, okay, I see the warranty.
Yeah, they normally do a 1 year. I got them to give us a 2 year.
So they're gonna do this whole area that's highlighted in yellow?
No, that's a videotape.
Right.
The only area they're actually gonna improve the pipe is underneath the railroad track between manholes 215 and 216, which is about 100 feet.
Okay.
This is a great clarification, so thank you for asking that question. When they video, if they find additional problems, I have a feeling that DJ Brower will be back to talk to you again.
Yes, because I know there's other pipes, like the one just downstream, there's a crack on both ends next to the manholes. Right now, it's not causing any sort of failure, but it's something that I would like to get fixed. And if I've got, 15 of them in the course of this 1,300 feet, and I can identify where they're all at, then I can come back and do spot repairs if the rest of the pipe's in great shape. And there's another firm that does something similar where they just do 10-foot repairs or 5-foot repairs at a time. All they need to do is get a camera, measure it, and they have a blow-up that seals the area.
Yeah, if we were having to replace the pipe, it would be considerably more money. So this is a really manageable amount of money that we can spend and have a problem solved.
And the good thing is that this area is pretty much fully developed. There isn't going to be any more flows going into this line, so the capacity is there. It's not like some areas where, hey, we know the pipe's undersized and we're going to have to go back and replace it with a larger pipe. Then we're looking at pipe bursting or open cutting, and as you know, open cutting gets very expensive very quickly.
And this shouldn't affect anything with transportation or the rails or anything, because everything.
No, we'll go underneath it. The only thing we have to do is bypass And we should be able to work with the railroad to make sure that they can do the bypass while they're, because it's a spur track. I don't know how often they actually run cars up and down it.
Okay, thank you.
And go ahead.
The ATV that was done recently, was that done with our equipment, or was
No, that was done under Mike McKiska and Steve Rogers. It was, I don't know exactly when the date of the original videotape was done.
And we have, so in the last year or so, and the reason I asked was because I was really excited when we recently bought our new ATV equipment. I was thinking this was a win because of our ATV equipment as well.
Well, I've got so many repairs
I'm still
going
happy to
on.
have the equipment, and it's these type of projects that really get me excited about, sewer and stormwater replacements, because we do have aging infrastructure in the city of Terrell, and quite a bit of it in District 3. And, I got a call from Mr. Robert Jones at 1213 South Medora almost a year ago. And he said he had called in, and previously staff had been out to, with the big truck to do some power, some water power through the pipe, and that helped to alleviate the issue, but then they saw the issue reoccur again when they had a lot of rainfall. And so a lot of people know I like to go out and see the issue, right? Because someone might call it sewer, and I might call it a stormwater issue, and really make sure that we get the facts over to the team and let the team do the rest of the work, right? And I've continued to check in with Mr. Robert Jones and Ms. Rosa and Mr. Thomas that live right next door, because all the houses get impacted along that block when there is a lot of storm water. And recently I was out with Glenn at a project right around the corner that was being finalized, and I stopped by, and I was really saddened to hear that their champion, Mr. Robert Jones, who called me, had passed away over the holidays. And I thought, oh my goodness, their champion may not, did not get to see this project be addressed. So when I heard that we were making progress, it really lifted my spirits. So I'm going from a positive approach, a positive outcome, and we'll be so glad after we vote on this item to share of the progress we've done. My hope and my goal is that this work, as you've mentioned, will help address the problem, and I'm looking forward to see what the result of the ATV for the rest of the line will be, and hope that will be good recommendations that come forth, and we'll ask my city council members to also support in those future projects that may come, because we all deserve to live in a safe and good community, and I would want to make sure that they and anyone else in the city of Terrell has a similar issue addressed.
I mean, my staff would love to be able to videotape all these sanitary sewers and storm sewers, but we are so busy just fixing repairs. And I shared with Mike, we had 2 collapses, one on the 30-inch line behind Terrell State Hospital, another one in the 24-inch sewer line behind the Valero. And, we're going to spend, a couple days trying to just fix those. And to videotape 1,300 feet of storm sewer or sanitary sewer line, it's probably going to take these guys a week to do it. I don't have the staff time to budget their kind of time to do that with all the other repairs and other things that we need to keep our residents in water and keep their sewer flowing.
Sure, and I know this is not a budget conversation or amendment to the budget, but because we do have the aging infrastructure and anticipate, we'll continue to see more and more as time goes on, that we have the tools in place and the budget in place and the best, problem-solving solutions in place to make the most out of our budget time and all the work that we'll probably see.
Yeah, definitely work with engineering and our consultants to get a cost-effective solution for whatever repairs or replacements that we need to do.
Thank you,
So
DJ.
you're gonna see me up here multiple times.
Thank you.
A couple more. How fast, will we get started on this if we get?
If we sign this tomorrow, they will, they're gonna send us an invoice for 10% down, and they should be able to move in on March 15th. It'll probably take about a week to clear the first line and get that all videotaped and cleaned and show that it's done, and then they'll videotape the rest of it. So I really expect them to be done in 45 days or less, after the 15th of March.
Okay. Thank you, DJ. Again, council, this is a consider agreement with SIP in an amount not to exceed $148,108. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve an agreement with Spray and Play Solutions for the inspection or repair of a 10-inch sanitary sewer line under a Union Pacific Railroad spur track in amount not to exceed of $148,108 to SPI.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 4, to enter into agreement and allow the city manager to execute with SPI for an amount not to exceed $148,108. SIP, I don't think, did I say SPI? SIP. Okay, yeah, for an amount not to exceed $148,108. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries from unanimous vote of those present. Council, if there is no objections, the mayor would like to move to suspend the rules and move item number, which one is it? 7.2. This is resolution number 2150, land acquisition for the Terrell Economic Development Corporation, State Highway 34 wastewater extension project. This will be handled by our downtown project manager, Raylan Smith. Is there no objection? We'll move that on up. If you would please come forward, Raylan, and I think we have Carlton Tidwell with our EDC with us as well, so
I was fixing to say,
whomever
we'll
wants to
bring-
go first.
We'll bring Carlton with me every time.
All right.
He gets special treatment. I'll let Carlton kind of discuss with you the basis of the wastewater extension project that TEDC is doing, and then what the association with the city.
Thank you, Raylan, Mayor and Council. Thank you. This is part of an agreement that you previously voted on with Ackerman and Associates. This is a construction of two 150,000 square foot buildings just south of 1836 Farms. The Terrell Economic Development Corporation will be extending sewer to that facility across two properties to help set that up and get them going. It will also obviously improve the development of the two properties it'll go across as well. So that's the basis behind it. And those agreements obviously were previously voted on and done.
So EDC is in support of this project.
EDC is 100% in support of this.
All right, thank you.
So EDC is actually funding the wastewater extension project. They are also picking up the design costs. So what you have in your packet tonight is just our standard land acquisition resolution. We've identified the parcels as well as the easements. We actually don't see where we'll probably have to expend funds, since this wastewater line will also serve these businesses. And so it's our understanding that there's been communication previously with the property owners about the necessary easements, but we just want to make sure that we follow the same processes before we move forward with the easement documents.
All right, does anybody have any questions on resolution 2150? Hearing none, is there a motion on, oh, it's just a discussion. So this will come back. When will we see this again? At the next meeting? Okay, all right, so this will come back at our next meeting, council. Next item on the agenda, we'll move back up to 6.2, discuss and consider a construction plat for Crossroads at Terrell Phase 1B, Lot 2R, Block 6, being 0.87 acres of the John C. Hill Survey Abstract Number 202, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, located on the south side of Spur 557, American Way and Circle Center. This is going to be Municipal Development Analyst Jana Wampler.
Good evening. I am happy to bring to you a construction plat for a new bank that is eager to join our community. It's located in the Crossroads development. It fronts Spur 557 and is between the Chili's restaurant and the Specs Liquor. And I will show you a location map in a couple of slides. This application was presented to Planning and Zoning on February the 22nd. The existing zoning is retail. The new applicant and the developer is Texas Regional Bank. The applicant has submitted a construction plat for a Texas Regional Bank. The applicant is the legal owner of this parcel and has complied with all requirements of a construction application. The current zoning also complies with the use. It has been determined that this applicant and the plat conforms with the comprehensive plan, our zoning ordinance, and all other codes, studies, and plans as applicable. The construction plat, along with the engineering plan sheets, have been reviewed by our office and determined to be conforming to the City of Terrell. And there are technical specifications for building standards. Their next steps to move forward after, if it's reviewed and approved tonight: obtain final approval of the engineering and architectural plans, obtain necessary building permits to proceed, complete the public improvements as required. During and after construction, inspections and approval by city engineers, building inspectors, and our city contractors will commence. Obtain a certificate of occupancy. And again, this was presented to P&Z on February the 22nd and was approved by a 5-0. And our staff here recommends this construction plan approval.
All right.
The next page is our plat application. And then, sorry, Dawn, and then the warranty, the special warranty showing proof that they are the legal entitled owner. The next exhibit, and this is a long one, they gave me the whole thing, it was all filed as one record, is our location map. So this will give you another idea. There's Spur 557 to the north kind of east. You see the Specs to the east, and then to the west is the Chili's. All right, next page. The current zoning is retail. And I apologize, our maps on this one are not what we were used to. It's with Chris Walker being out, so we had to improvise. Okay, next page is a rendering of what it's going to look like in the after condition. And the next, okay, and that's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Oh, does anybody have any questions? Again, council, this was vetted by our Planning and Zoning Commission, and it did get approved by a 5-0 vote. This is going to be a plat construction consideration, so we would approve the construction plat for Crossroads at Terrell. Is there a motion, or is there any questions? Is there a motion on item 6.2?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes. Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay. Considering that this area is currently zoned retail and is surrounded by restaurants and other retail, do we have any concerns regarding sort of having something here that doesn't kind of line up with what we're looking to do with this area? It's generally sort of food and kind of, you're going out for a Friday night to have dinner with your family, and then, are we taking up a spot here that might be better served by things that are kind of in line with that same sort of intent?
Based on our current zoning, this type of business is entitled to be in this particular zoning district. I hear what you're saying, and next month I'm going to be bringing you some other lots in this development that are of some different uses. And so they're being presented to the P&Z this month on the 28th. But it does comply with our current zoning. It's checked out with all of our departments, and it meets the guidelines of this zoning.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Again, so we would approve the construction plat for Crossroads at Terrell. And this is just a process by which they're coming through. They're not asking for any
Yeah,
exceptions
and
of
Mayor,
any
this
kind.
is the old idea that under state law, a construction plat is considered a ministerial activity. And what we mean by that is if they technically comply with the standards, it is unlawful to turn them down. So they technically comply with the standards. They've met the engineering requirements, the fire standards, the zoning standards. A platting process is considered ministerial so long as they meet the requirements.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Is there a motion on 6.2?
Yes, Mayor, motion to approve item 6.2.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, to approve construction plat for Crossroads at Terrell, Phase 1B, Lot 2R, Block 6 being 0.87 acres out of the John C. Hale Survey Abstract Number 202. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries for unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 6.3. This is discuss and consider surplus items for auction. Again, this will be handled by our downtown project manager, Raylan Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Hopefully, last time we met, we came with a good idea in regards to surplus items in hopes to help eliminate some of the demolition cost for properties. Last meeting, we discussed 201 South Catherine, and that was for discussion only. I wanted to kind of walk through our thought process in doing this through auction. And so this week, I would like to bring to you an additional address of 114 West Grove that we could be handled the same way. And I just want to remind you, as declaring this surplus, we would be able to auction off the building materials, which would include all the metal and steel from the site. Upon award, we would make contact with the purchaser and allow time for them to dismantle the building and haul off. And then essentially the only remaining fiscal responsibilities that we would have for that property would be for the slab and any site clearing. So if it's sold in surplus, those funds would actually help go back to fund the remaining demolition of the site.
Okay, so I know that, if I remember, we talked about the silos, and we made sure that within that contract, they were not to be
We're not
touched.
touching the silos.
Is there a heavy fine if they touch those silos?
Trust me when
No,
I
I know,
tell you,
but
I
you
will
better have
make
a penalty.
sure no one's
Can we-
no one's touching the silos.
I know, but I've seen it happen before where accidentally a crew comes, there should be a heavy penalty for them, so that way
Think
you
of that
won't come
as,
back.
think of that as something that gets included in the
Field levy, he knows what I'm
insurance.
talking-
There's always an insurance requirement associated with a project of this type, and we'll make sure that the insurance requirement is sufficient to cover any damage to the silos.
All right,
Absolutely.
okay. Do not come back to the mayor and the council and say, I'm sorry, they failed to comply with that portion of the contract.
Is there any kind of verbiage that needs to be in the contract, the demolition contract?
So what?
Is this for that?
Yes. So once the auction closes, we will specify within the auction, but we will actually have a notice to proceed that will lay out the exact timeline as well as the areas that can be disposed of.
And for the record, I absolutely trust our staff. Right. I just know how things can go wrong, and I just want to make sure that we're covered for any contingency that might occur, right?
We'll make sure it's clear in the notice to proceed,
Okay.
for sure.
Thank you, Raylan. I know you will. Again, this is, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, were you done? Okay, yeah. So again, this is discuss and consider for auction. What would we need to do? Do we need to name those two addresses?
Yeah, that staff recommendation line down there where it
Okay.
says approval, buildings, da-da-da,
Okay,
as surplus
gotcha.
for
So the
auction.
staff recommendation would be your motion. Is there a motion on 6.3? It would be to approve buildings at 201 South Catherine and 114 West Grove as surplus for auctions, would be how the a motion would read. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve surplus items for auction located at 201 South Catherine and 114 West Grove.
Got it. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Phil Robinson, District 5, to approve the buildings at 201 South Catherine and 114 West Grove as surplus for auction. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Both those present. Our next item on the agenda is 7.1. This is discuss solar eclipse update. I even hate to ask Allison Walker to come to the podium. Yes. I know she's had a difficult time.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council.
It's good that you're back, though.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
This is just a quick update on the total solar eclipse on April the 8th. As you can see, we will have 4 minutes and 20 seconds of total darkness, 1:41 to 1:45. And, you can kind of see the estimation for the visitors along the line of totality is what it's being called. And we really don't know what to expect. We're just going by other cities that have had it in the past and estimates from them. And on this page, this is from a company called the Eclipse Company that the Chamber has been working with. This is just kind of interesting because on the left, it kind of outlines the different phenomena that are associated with an eclipse, like the temperature drop and the confused animals and things like that. So that's just some fun things to look forward to. These are the activities the library is planning leading up to the eclipse. They've kind of already started some of those right now, but this is beginning April the 2nd and running through all the way through the eclipse for all ages. So they're very excited. In fact, Sunday we got a call and Channel 4 actually came out and interviewed Becca at the library about some of the activities they're planning to host on the lawn for the public. And up in the corner is a copy of the glasses that they will hand out to the visitors at the library. This slide is just to indicate that we have been in touch with the school district. They have agreed to close the schools that day, which we all think is a very wise thing. We were very concerned about the additional traffic and the buses, so that was a good thing, good decision. Trinity Valley has decided that they will do a private event just for their faculty, staff, and students that day, but it will be closed to the general public. We have reached out to Star Transit to see if there are any changes to their scheduling that day. So far, they are planning on business as usual, but I will update y'all if that changes. Okay, this is the activities that the Chamber of Commerce is coordinating. The biggest event that they are planning is what they're calling Celestial Sunday, and they are working with the downtown merchants to stay open that evening, and we're hoping that that'll give visitors that we have from out of town something to do in town, and also help them increase their sales that day. We also are working with the BFTS Museum and Breezy Hill Park to have RV parking out at the airport and also out at Ben Gill Park. We have not had a lot of response so far from that, but after talking with Sharon, there is a lot of thought that some of the RVers wait until closer to the date to make those reservations, because some of them don't want to even come to your city if they think it's going to be overcast and it's not going to be a good time to view the eclipse. They will be distributing their own version of the viewers that they are having made. You can see that on the right there of the slide, to the local hotels and some of the shopping centers that are hosting private events, like the Shops at Terrell and Fairfield Inn. And then the last point there, this is something kind of exciting. Sharon's been in touch with a lot of the media and some astronomers and photographers, and so we're working with Glenn's team to secure the softball fields out at Ben Gill Park, and that will be the site that we will have for any of our media that show up that night, or that day, sorry. It'll be like night. Okay. This is the Facebook page that the Chamber has set up. And so anything related to the eclipse will be posted on this page. So we invite anybody that has updates to submit those to Sharon, and she will share them on this page. Again, this is just some promotion for the Celestial Sunday event. There's going to be activities for all ages. There'll be music, food trucks, just all kinds of dueling pianos downtown, and we're also working with some artists that may do some like paint by number kind of thing for visitors. Okay, and again, this is referring to the RV parking. And these are activities that they have proposed for the RVers out at the airport location. So if y'all know anybody that has an RV, please encourage them to reach out to them to secure a spot. Emergency operations. I don't even want to really address this page, but anyway, our police and fire are working with us to just make sure this is a safe and fun event. And we do have extra personnel that will be on staff before and after the event to help hopefully mitigate any kind of incidents that we have, but also for traffic. And we're hoping not to impact our response times too much, but there will be a lot of extra people in town. So, okay, that's it. Do y'all have any questions for me or for the chief?
Anybody have any questions?
I just have a question. If some of our citizens want to watch the eclipse, are we making any provision to provide the protection for the eyes?
So Sharon does have the viewers, a limited amount, so I don't know if she'll have extra that she could share, but also the library has, I think they ordered 10,000 or something. So the first thing would be to go through the library for those.
They wouldn't have to be a part of those festivities on the lawn. To do that, I would really like to see if we need to spend a little.
And if we need to order some additional ones, I'm sure that we can figure out a way to do that for.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll see what the stock is, and we'll figure out if we need to order more. I think it'd be very useful to pick, I'm going to say, 3 or 4 different community organizations. Rotary comes to mind, Kiwanis comes to mind, Breezy Hill Park Association comes to mind. We could pick 3 or 4 groups like that and make sure that we, provide a stock to them that they could also help us distribute. So let us work on that just a tad bit, and Allison will coordinate getting that out. Okay.
And I thought you were going to say, Stephanie, where they could go watch it, and I was going to say at home.
Allison, we also need to make sure that in our social media posts, you don't want to just look at this event. You don't want to be looking at the sun
Correct.
without those glasses.
Right.
That's the wrong thing to do.
That is the wrong thing to do.
So we need to somehow stress that on anything that we put out. Do not be looking at this
Correct.
without the glasses.
And not even sunglasses, right?
Exactly.
They need to be
Exactly.
either viewers or approved glasses.
Right.
So
Okay.
we will make sure that we reiterate that to citizens.
Former, yeah.
To bounce off of Stephanie's question, I think it would be really neat, like if the nonprofits or if we had a limited amount at the library before the event to say, pick up the glasses and take a selfie, post it online to continue to gain some traction of, hey, this is happening. You can stop in Terrell. Here's the sunglasses. You don't have to, just come to Terrell.
Right. And we can reach out to Becca and see how many exactly they have and if she thinks they have ample amounts so that those can be passed out prior to the event.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's almost too late to order glasses from, if you're able to get any, so we're gonna have to do with what we've got now, right?
Well,
So-
I'm not sure about that.
All right.
We'll check into it.
Okay.
Quick additional point.
Yes.
I would like to see council be given a sort of a more detailed rundown of what we're doing in terms of the incident action plan, the emergency management, the crowd control. Just considering there's going to be so many people, I mean that alone, presents a safety hazard. So maybe that's a takeaway for Mike. Just maybe have someone give us a presentation on what we're doing to ensure that everyone is safe during this event.
I'm happy to do that. I want to do that in a timely manner for you. So let me talk to the team about the best way to get that queued up for you. So yes, on delivering it, let me work on the delivery methodology of getting that out to folks, okay?
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Allison. Next on the agenda is discuss the City of Terrell Thoroughfare Plan. This is going to be our city engineer, Chris Snap.
So council and mayor, I come to you just as we talked at our workshops about impact fees. One of the things that we talked about briefly there is the thoroughfare plan of our roads that are around the city. So this is part of the preliminary process as we walk through the impact fee assessment and determination of what the final outcome is. So the city, as we said, we routinely do this every 5 years, but the thoroughfare plan is routinely evaluated and assessed, and as part of that, it determines the network of roads that need to move throughout our city, not only for today, but for tomorrow and then on down the road. It's more like, almost similar to a comprehensive plan that we do for the city. This is more for as concerning the roads. And as you know, as developers come in, we use this map as time to assess how they fit into it and can they help us out in fulfilling this process. So this was done by Friesen Nickel that is doing our impact study. So here is a picture, a map of our thoroughfare plan that are proposing. And I know it's busy and dizzy, but it's very similar to what you've seen in the past. Not a lot of major changes, but we do have outlined some things in there. You see the purple line on the far left. That's the future outer loop map, outer loop that's being looked at. It's going to tweak a little bit, but for the most part, that's the general location of that. So as we went through this process, Friesen Nichols put this study together and worked with us on this map. And doing this, we've spent about $15,000 in their services as part of that impact fee, that services that we've already approved. So bring for you to discuss and approve this thoroughfare plan for the future. I'll take any questions.
Yeah. So will we have opportunity in another setting to give input on this, Mike, or
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually a multi-step process. So Chris will have this in front of your Planning and Zoning Commission soon. We'll have a copy of it that we can provide to you guys. And it's really a fairly detailed thing. I would say that probably some of the takeaways here are a little bit easier to do. If I can use your cursor, Helen, is that okay? So just as a for example, you see this blue road right here that follows along the north side of US 80 and then gets up to Colquitt. So that's an example of, okay, we know that as we bring more development and more development happens up over here north of US 80, and that follows along to this large piece of land in the city limits right behind the Walmart area. When those folks develop all of that land that goes along the north side of US 80, are we going to make sure that they build an additional road, or are we going to just allow them to only utilize US 80? Well, the answer to that's simple, right? We want to make sure that as new development comes, they build a road. In this case, this would be a road that would go from State Highway 205 all the way to the outer loop and go under the outer loop to connect that part of the city. And you can see part of that under construction now. Well, we just won't let that lie there as one disconnected road. We want that to be a thoroughfare that goes all the way over here and connects to the existing traffic light at Colquitt and State Highway 205. We've talked numerous times about Witt Ranch. So here's Witt Ranch. Here's the famous existing 600-acre Witt Ranch. Whenever that develops, they need to be building a road that connects over to State Highway 205. Well, another developer will build the section next to FM 986. Another developer will build it close to North Francis. Another developer will be required to build it next to State Highway 34, next to 429. You've got 7 or 8 major developments that could happen between 205 and 429. And as those develop, we want to make sure that we have a thoroughfare plan that requires the developers to be building them. The other side of it connects to impact fees, because if you're building near it or in a zone or around it, then we can say, hey, our long-term transportation costs are fill in the blank millions of dollars, and you need to pay your fair share of those millions of dollars. Well, how do we do that? We have to first adopt a thoroughfare plan that allows us to map out and show what that is, and then we connect this to costs of building this thoroughfare plan. So we'll have it available online. We'll have it available for P&Z, and then you won't see it again until it comes back from P&Z with a affirmative positive vote from our Planning and Zoning Commission, and that'll be a couple of months from now. You'll also have a chance to see it in detail at your Streets Workshop.
If you recall, we got a streets workshops coming up that will talk about the roads. Those roads will intertwine with this plan. So it's all part of a master plan.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss Fire Station Number 3 project update. This will be handled by our downtown project manager, Raylan Smith.
Okay, one more item. So as promised, we are bringing back to you our fire station update. We have gone through schematic planning just to kind of give you a reminder of everything that we've done in December. We were here for some feedback, and we gave you some time to meet with Chief LaCroix. January 9th, you approved the task order for schematic design, which was a 30-day process. That full schematic design packet is available in your agenda packet, but what we wanted to do tonight is I'm going to bring forward Gary Frazier with Corps Engineering, Brian West with WRA, and just kind of go over some of the highlights and some of the decisions, and then we'll talk about our next steps.
Yeah, good evening, council. This is an exciting presentation. I'm a little biased, so I think it's the most exciting presentation you'll see tonight. Not that sewer and roads are not important. Yeah, leading into this, I appreciate Raylan and the chief and city administration's feedback between December and January. We're trying to capture about 5 meetings, 5 2-hour meetings, and dozens of little phone calls and texts of feedback here. We've also got Gary with Core Construction. We're certainly cognizant of budget, so that'll be kind of the last slide and the lead into our next steps. But right now, we're going to do a schematic design presentation. It's a summary of the 5 meetings. So, right here. Got it. These are in chronological order, so excuse me if I go a little fast. You've seen these images. This is certainly the site plan on Apache and Rexel. No change from the last time. We've got kind of the public area off of Apache and Rexel and the bays. I struggle to call it the mullet concept, business in the front, party in the back. The program goals, we went through, I'm sorry, yeah. I could not, I could not resist. I set myself up for that. The program goals, we certainly didn't just start off from day one, architects starting to design a building. We worked very closely to define goals, to make sure what we're showing you is not just a pretty picture, that it certainly has the goals in mind as we get through design. The program, this is also no change. When we design the building on paper, that's our accountability, that once we actually show you what it looks like, the picture, that building doesn't grow, that we really narrowly define the scope up front, and then we deliver on that, so no change there. It's a little more refined floor plan. The general zones have not changed from that December meeting. Every building starts with the floor plan. And so tonight, you'll certainly start to see kind of the 3D images. When we start designing a building, we certainly look at precedent within the city of Terrell. What's the industry doing? So we started this with just saying we have a blank slate. We have a floor plan. That floor plan can go a lot of different directions. So we try to weigh what is appropriate to the context, what reinforces our goals, what looks nice, attractive to the city, what also provides the firefighters with a really progressive building and environment they could be proud of. So we see the very first pass. It's we show just, this is about the shape of the building. We picked some very basic materials just to kind of show, this is that floor plan kind of extruded and turned. It allows us to see it in 3D. And evaluating this first concept, the group felt like it didn't really have that presence on Rexel and Apache. This is also thrown in here just to show you how real the station is turning into. You'll see these graphics somewhere on the inside, but you'll see adding number 3. Go. And the big reveal for number 3, adding the 3rd station. We wanted this building to have it's in a newer part of town, kind of an industrial area. We thought its context was progressive. We still tried to make it a warm building. It's not a spaceship plopped down there, but we wanted to make it attractive from that intersection. And so we'll keep it on this slide or take questions on this.
Yeah, so council, does anybody have comments as to the exterior design? Lighting? I like it. It looks good. I mean, I don't know. On the glass part of it, is that bulletproof?
It will be. Yes,
okay.
Sir. Absolutely.
All right. Pop back a couple of slides to the 3 images.
Yeah.
One more. Back one more. So this is sort of like the initial, you guys as a city council need to be in line with your architect on which of these worlds are you in. It'd be very easy if we were doing a downtown fire station to drift over to the historical, right? If we're doing one downtown, man, you'd see a pretty strong staff thought of, hey, let's go historical here. So Are we going to be in contemporary vernacular, contemporary modern? What world are we going to be in with this? And I would encourage you guys to use this slide to kind of come back and give comments to your architect on, because you could look at this and say, hey, I kind of wish you would drift over in one of these other directions. If you go forward to the recommended page, then you can see, you know, okay, they've taken a recommendation here. They're saying, hey, we want to suggest that you go in that direction. But this would be a great time, sort of early-ish in our design process, to say, whoa, I'd like you to go back to one of those other on that other page, because there are some important decisions that they need to start making there.
So, Mike, I have a couple of comments. So being that I work at a fire station that's sort of a more industrial design, and it looks kind of similar to what we're planning here with the more modern design. You know, one of the complaints I hear from firemen is that it feels almost like kind of coming into an office building as opposed to it kind of being a clubhouse, you know, sort of the fire station feel where the family kind of comes together to, you know, proceed with a mission. So I'm not as big of a fan personally of the more modern design. The other piece that I kind of, you know, wanted to bring to the forefront is, you know, with some of these more historic looking designs, you know, we kind of have two Terrells right now. We have kind of the downtown, more historic, you know, part of Terrell, then we have the more industrial Terrell Crossing area. Maybe this is an opportunity to be more cohesive and to kind of bring some of the historic element of Terrell to that part of town. I personally like the design of the more historic route, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I would agree with you, except for I don't know what is it more costly to do that? And that's why we went with this more modern design, or is it just was the feel?
And that's my question too, like what is the most conservative, like if you can tell us option 1, option 2, like from the most conservative to the most expensive?
There are certainly elements of a historic restoration that are expensive. You don't see that in a lot of buildings because, you know, a lot of the cast stone and kind of the mass of the building. The second part of that was exactly like Mike said, was more of a design decision to fit it in with its context. And I agree wholeheartedly with Mike. This would look like a very different building. It was our recommendation if it was downtown. Station number 2's in a neighborhood. If that was a rebuild, you know, we certainly agree with kind of the fit with the neighborhood. We felt like this area was one of those fits to put a progressive foot forward. Back on this, I would put this, you know, somewhere in the, you know, 2.5, 2.25 category. Certainly we can dial that up and plop a very modern building right there. So we tried to hit a tone, you know, 2.5 in there with, yes, some glass, but, you know, it's all masonry with the stone, showcasing the, you know, the historic bell and kind of a raised element, so.
So on the precedent studies, where you have the contemporary vernacular, that middle piece, is that a in between the historical and the contemporary? Is that what that is?
Yes, sir. That's pretty close.
So if we wanted to do, I think maybe it's the color. If it was red, it'd be more like a red brick look to it. Might make it more historical look. I don't know. I'm not an architect. I wouldn't know, or color. Maybe that's what's throwing off to making it look so contemporary, is the gray. Was there a reason why we chose gray or that color? And again, these are just, no decisions have been made, council, right? So we still have time to input. I mean, I'm good with either or, but I understand the councilman's argument for, hey, you know what?
You're sort of having a building envelope design conversation here, if I say it in architectural terms correctly. Right. And I think that maybe one of the questions council asked is something that you guys could get back to them. If I go back to the 3 examples earlier over there again, and I say, okay, I've got back one more. If I look at this and say, okay, drifting between this, looking at this as a continuum, right? I could be closer to historical, or I could be closer to very, very modern, right? and I got a range in between, right? And those are all design decisions. So without trying to make, you know, you don't want to have 7 cooks cooking dinner, right?
Right.
So we're trying to get you focused in a direction. How do we get feedback from you on keeping ourselves in a price range where, you know, there's never a city council that says, oh, I'd like to triple the price by just what it looks like on the outside, right? I have the same function on the inside, but I tripled the price for the outside. How do you get the council into a range where they're saying, okay, any variation on the exterior side of it, it might not be 0, but at least it's a small percentage of the overall project, whatever the variation in the architectural approach might be. Help us out on that part of the feedback.
We're at that stage in the project to where we have a design, a lot of the details, and I know the next agenda item is permission to move forward. We're making assumptions on a lot of the details. So if you want to talk about kind of how you price that right now, and then how we would price that moving forward?
Yeah, we could. So the next step for us is actually produce an estimate and do some, historically, at this point, we're just using historical data, comparative stuff. So the next step for us is to do a detailed estimate. And we could do some facade comparisons. And if we wanted to look at different front elevations for the fire station, for example, we could put some values on 1, 2, 3, however many options we could come up with. That's certainly an exercise we could do.
Okay.
Well, personally, I'd like to,
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I agree with Councilman Phil to a great extent, but what I'm more concerned about, I really like to hear some things that Chief LaCroix, you know, would have to say, get his point of view, as well as what are his guys are saying there in terms of what they're looking for as firefighters, because they got to spend 24 to 48 hours there. So it'd be nice to get their input.
Yeah, so,
Is Chief present?
Yes, he's coming up.
so,
Okay.
you know, we put together a committee that was looking at this fire station and helping with the design, the inside and the outside, and what you see is what they produce. So this is what, from their perspective, what they were looking for in a fire station.
Your committee, and the committee was whom? I meant firefighters?
Yeah.
Or some staff, city staff? No city staff, all firefighters?
Dustin was part of the committee.
Okay, all right. No, I just want to make sure we,
Majority was, you know, our operational personnel.
okay,
The ones that'll be using it, the ones that are living in it.
right.
Absolutely.
That's important.
I think their thoughts and perspectives should weigh strongly with our council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we didn't know that. It's good information. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I very much agree that, you know, the perspective of the firemen would be working there, that's the most important perspective. Just from my point of view, I see a lot of stations built like this now, and this sort of contemporary modern design. It feels to me like, I mean, just from my perspective, that this design will seem dated in 10 years, you know? It kind of is just the specific way things are being built now. Maybe a more classic historic design would be sort of more timeless. It would be a nice looking building for years to come. But, and again, it would kind of bring the two towns together, kind of having, you know, a more historic look to a building in that part of town. But again, to me, what the firemen in our town want is that should take precedence.
Okay. So I guess if we would do some cost comparison on some exterior elevation for the council, just to give them an idea. But
What I would also appreciate hearing is, you know, is there, you know, for the person that's not in construction or architecture from day to day, what would be the other variables to consider, you know, after either any of these 3 options move forward? So like the maintenance to it, how long it will last. Maybe the price tag is just a tad bit higher, and it meets what we're hearing current firefighters, and I hope this building lasts way before they, right? So the opinion may change in 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. And I value their opinion, and I also want to hear, right, what are those price tags currently, but then could that price tag be a little higher based on maintenance and how long it will withstand the exterior. And maybe there's an option, you know, you can paint over X, Y, and Z, but you can't paint over, you know, different material.
Yeah, looking at the renderings, the one that you gave us, the exterior massing and design, it kind of reminds me of our current police station. It's bold, it looks like that. And I know we've had our police station for several years. So with that being said, do you guys ever, I guess, mix different styles together? Is that a part of something you do as far as architecture? I wonder if that's something that may make it a little appealing for historic.
I like personally, and architecture, yeah, for the record, should be easily recognizable by everybody in the community. So what we try to do is kind of pick a cohesive look and go one direction or the other. Now something like, I mean, could this building, you know, look very different with red brick? Absolutely. You know, or kind of darker colored windows, that's a more historic look. Absolutely.
Like I usually, like when I'm looking at these designs, everything is kind of just square to me. But that's might be just how my mind works, where I'm like, I don't see any arches or anything like that, but it's not gonna be my, you know, my domain, so I get it. And I would definitely support the decision that the staff.
Some of the thoughts that went into less of the curves, I guess, were the maintenance issues. For like the roof, trying to prevent, you know, a flat roof that could potentially have maintenance issues down the road. So, in the red brick, I'm glad y'all said that, because that was one input I had, but I got outweighed by the guys on the board. But if I add all y'all to it, that puts me back.
I think we also try to limit, and this is not a blanket statement, interactions of materials. If you see some of our early iterations, we do have some arches. We'd have, you know, some tower elements. From a construction standpoint, every time you have a joint in a material is an opportunity to leak.
I think it's worth mentioning too that WRA did not do this in a vacuum. We attended all of these design meetings and provided input as materials were discussed, constructability issues, cost issues. So there's a lot of meetings that transpired before we got to this point.
I can support pretty much the exterior, whichever they prefer, but I'm just kind of concerned about cost as well.
Let me ask another question that might help some council considerations here. To what extent is the, and I'll just call it hominess factor, which I think is an important thing for everybody. Part of that's the exterior of the building, and part of that's the interior of it. Do you feel like we're going to have a chance to address some of the I feel at home considerations when we do the inside of the building? How's that going to help us here?
Absolutely. So, pardon the mullet comment, but the back side of the building, we fully intend to, you know, that entrance is, you know, at 10 feet. You know, this is 16 feet glass. That entrance is, you walk in under a patio. There'll be a grill under that patio. You know, you'll walk into a kitchen. So we do certainly fully intend to try to give firefighters that environment that they feel comfortable in, not like they're in a hospital or an office building. I wholeheartedly agree with it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, similar to the exterior, we showed a lot of precedent about interior environment. Every one of these needed to reinforce the goals of a space that was inviting, light-filled, comfortable for them to spend long periods of time, even council meetings in. So do we need a council room, possibly? We don't. So as you walk into the building, these are kind of the four main spaces that we've kind of modeled out. We have a public lobby with a lot of wood. It's warm. The concrete is kind of a contrast of a really durable material. It's just the building slab. We're not adding, you know, floors that you need to wax every year. There's certainly some maintenance on concrete, but it's a very durable finish. An inviting lobby for an area of refuge for the public to come in. We have the after-action briefing room kind of in the front there. We also have, and so this is the heartbeat of the station, the kitchen, you know, the large island, large custom table, and then you see those windows start to kind of, you know, they're lower windows. They're at, you know, 8 feet, 10 feet. They open into a patio so they could park and come straight into an inviting environment. We do have some high windows that will have, you know, shades that could black out, but something that they could feel a nice, airy, light-filled space with acoustical panels to certainly cut down on noise. We toured some stations that did not handle that correctly. And then the bays, we're trying to bring natural light. So on the front, to me, glass means inside light. A lot of times to a public, that means a modern facade. But I see the more glass on the front as an opportunity to kind of bring in some of that north light into the bays. Also, the front bay bifolding doors with the glass.
And with the glass, we wanted it to be inviting to the public as they come up, so they can look inside, see what's inside.
Material palette, the committee really favored a lot of easy to clean, durable finishes, a lot of pops of wood, and then, you know, some bold colors there. Welcome feedback on the interior as well.
So on the interior, I know we talked briefly about maybe having emergency command center capabilities at this facility. Should we lose, the police station now? Is that?
Yes, sir.
Right, as a backup? Were we able to do anything with that, or?
The after-action room that we're using to do our briefing and things for, it could substitute for that if need be.
Okay, good. Oh, is it?
When was this building, I'm trying to, designed, you know, so firefighters, are we seeing more women coming into the firefighter field? And does the building incorporate, you know, more amenities for women? Like if a woman has a child and she needs a lactation room or a space that can be converted into a lactation room, are we accounting for both female and women? Not that they have to, you know, go out into the firefighter, or maybe there are other staff members that are in the offices that are working.
The design decision to have individual shower rooms and restrooms and not a, you know, kind of a group setting with locker rooms and benches, kind of the old way of designing. Also, you know, the old bunkhouse to where, you know, it's 8 people in a room, 6 or 8 people in a room. We have the individual residence dorms, so that allows for definite privacy for those individuals. Also, the restrooms and the dorms are probably the 2 largest.
So, and then for the sleeping quarters, sound was addressed so that you're not kept awake with traffic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those walls, if you see, there are the dorms on the far right side here. There's an STC rating, and these will have the highest STC rating.
Okay.
It's a lot of sound isolation and kind of wall engineering happening there, but absolutely.
Good.
And the decision that the department made, which was great feedback. I mean, these decisions, you put the dorms immediately by the bays, you know, that you want to keep these as close to the bays as possible. We chose to put them 30 feet from the bays. It's not far, but those are the furthest away from the noisy activities happening as well. So firefighter health and sleep health is, it was, you know, carcinogens came to mind about 10 years ago. There's a lot of studies that we certainly tap into about sleep health as well.
So your briefing room, it has big screen TV, I guess, and then it has all of the capabilities that we might have in maybe for meeting purposes like we have here in the council chambers.
Yeah, for a small setting, I mean, it's not, of course, it's not as large as what's over at the police department
Right. But similar? Okay,
It would have all the communications, data
right.
wiring.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the ability to, okay, cool.
But would it be any time that you would need a larger area to meet there if something you needed to do, Chief? Is this sufficient enough space for those types of things?
Okay, no, it looks like you've done a good job. I don't know. Is there more presentation? We got more?
No, sir, that was it.
Okay. Does anybody have any?
Quick question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I spoke with some of the guys who work at a new fire station built by Corps, and just kind of wanted to get their feel for what some of their concerns were and kind of what they thought were positives and negatives. One of the issues, so their station was built with the hot, warm, and cool zones, which I think this one is going to be as well. But they felt that they weren't given really sufficient information regarding sort of how to use these zones. Will there be sort of a tutorial, like to explain to the person who worked there how to utilize some of these tools that are going to be implemented in the station?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been doing kind of YouTube training videos, and those could be private links to where that could, it doesn't live on, some computer in the basement. But yeah, absolutely. We would like to video the storm shelter operations, the best practices, absolutely, in a final walkthrough.
Okay. And I definitely, just looking at the layout, I've worked at stations that have the dorm rooms a pretty good distance away from the apparatus bay. These do seem rather far away from the apparatuses for a quick response, but I understand some of the thinking there is having a distance from the carcinogens, but what was this was intentional to make them kind of a little distant from the apparatus bay?
Yes, sir. We turned all the rooms are kind of in that skinny orientation to try to get them as close. But yeah, sandwiching the kind of heartbeat of the station. You're exactly right. We're trying to weigh the kind of the social aspects, the day room, the sleep health with the carcinogens, and also response times. And Chief, I could let you comment on kind of those response times and that balance that we tried to strike there.
Well, I mean, right now, we're looking at where they spend most of their time, and it's not in the bedroom, it's in where they're eating at, or kind of in that living area, because, they're making quite a few calls, so sleep is something that they're missing a little bit of, but.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Maybe not over there where you're at, but here.
Oh, yeah, we're so slow here in Dallas.
But anyways, yeah, that was one of the concerns that I pointed out to them was about, putting these bedrooms areas on this very far wall. And, their response is that, if you put maybe the gathering area is further away, then, half the time you're going to be in that area. So, and it makes sense to me, and then, again, for their overall health, getting them away from the noise, so when they do get to lay down, they can sleep was important. So, I think it's doable, and it's, it'll work for them, and it's functional. They picked out things that, specific to how you clean it.
Right.
Nothing they're going to have to buff with a buffer or anything
Right.
like that. So, yeah, they have their fingerprints all over this, So,
Okay. Well, good. It sounds like I'm hearing from the council, they would like some feedback on the exterior elevation options and what that would be. Maybe even give them a photo if it was red instead of gray. Small things, but for the most part, I'm hearing everybody's good with it, especially if your firemen are good with it.
Yeah, and Mayor will also commit, we'll get you what I would call the east-facing rendering of it, because I think that shot will probably also help you understand where the employees will be entering. I think that's going to be really key to the design. So we'll get you a shot of the east-facing.
Okay. Raylan, are you back up? Okay.
Yeah, so again, your full schematic design is all of the pages that follow this. We did want to make sure that y'all had everything there. This kind of wraps up all of the meetings to date as Sims discussed. You know, if everyone's good with the floor plans, then we'll kind of move on from this presentation, but we'll definitely keep bringing back to you some of those exterior photos and some different renderings until we can get a good consensus from council and staff on those.
Okay. When will we hear back from you on this item?
So we have an item to discuss, which is our next item on the agenda, and then from there,
Okay.
we'll have an action item on March 19th.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is we'll just keep bringing back the exterior facade with notes as it's ready until we say, okay, this is the one.
All right, thank you. So our next item on the agenda, discuss recommendations for Fire Station Number 3, a task order number 3A and 3B on project 2023-C-01. This is going to be our downtown project manager, Raylan Smith.
So what we have before you is going to be task order number 3 for Fire Station 3, and staff would be requesting permission to complete the remaining of the pre-construction phase, which is going to include your full design development. It's going to do your construction document preps and also allow you to go out for bid. Once that full design is done, basically from the schematic, if you're happy with the floor plan, you know the building that you're going to build. Like we mentioned before, we know we need to make some tweaks to the exterior, but we would go into full design mode for the building. And once that design is ready, then there is a procurement package that would be put together by both your architect and your construction manager. And we would actually not bring anything back to council until after we received the bids. So your next phasing is full design development, construction documents, and bidding. So this portion, this task order number 3, again, your procurement methodology, we did RFQs back in fiscal year 2023, funded through CO 2023C. And we're looking at design services at $507,344.06 and CMA services at $25,000.
And this will come back to us
For
vote
action on the 19th.
on the 19th.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that? I would encourage you, if you haven't gone through those task orders, to do so and reach out to Raylan if you have any questions, okay? All right, thank you very much.
you.
Next item on the agenda is discuss ordinance number 3037, modifying Breezy Hill Park operational hours. This is going to be handled by our Director of Public Services, Glenn Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor and Council, it's always a pleasure to come before you. As you said, this is a discuss item, long time overdue, and I'm excited about this particular item. Due to inadequate lighting, council took action back in June of 2004 to change the hours of operation at that particular park. The Breezy Hill Park was from 6 a.m. to midnight at one time, and then it moved to dawn to dusk after the 2004 action. I think that the city has made great strides to improve all of the lighting at this particular park, which means we've improved the trail lighting as well as the ball field lighting at that park, and it didn't impact the residents in a negative manner. So far, everything has been awesome at that particular park. As a result of the lighting improvement, staff proposed a modification to the Breezy Hill hours of operation to the board. The park board was unanimously supportive of changing the hours of operation for the Breezy Hill Park. That took place December 7th of 2023. The proposed change would modify the closure time for Breezy Hill Park from dusk to midnight. The board voted again 100% support on this particular item, and I'll open up for any questions.
Right. So I think the reason for dusk to dawn was a safety issue in the past. We've resolved that,
Yes,
right? And so, Council, I don't have a problem with giving the residents every opportunity to use the park. And if it is the staff's recommendation that we move forward with this change, I feel comfortable with it. Does anybody have any comments?
Yes, Mayor, I really like this. I think we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. And Councilwoman?
Again, I just want to say thanks, city staff and this leadership and the leadership before me for working hard to make these changes. I spend time at Breezy Hill Park. I used to live very close to it, so it's dear to my heart. And thank you guys for what you've done and the support of that park. And I too will support extending the time.
Okay. Anyone else? This will come back to us for a vote. Oh, go ahead.
Mr.
Quick question,
Mayor,
just,
I will be, did someone say something?
Council.
Yeah, this is Phil.
Would you like to go?
Quick question. What is the, I mean, I definitely think the hours should be extended, no question about it. But what is the need to have a park open until midnight? What activities are done from like 10 till midnight?
We have a ball field there at that facility, which is used extensively, which is one major component, nothing undifferent than what's occurring at Bingill Park. So we have a trail that's lit. So we also have a community center at that particular location, which is utilized in the evenings.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I would be remiss if I didn't introduce or acknowledge the chairman of the park board that's sitting in the rear, Mr. Leonard Lancaster, and obviously staff members that have supported in our efforts. Thank you all for your support.
No, and I'm glad you brought up Leonard Lancaster. He has been, as has the councilwoman, a proponent and advocate for Breezy Hill Park. We've worked very hard on this park through Glenn and his staff and support from the city manager, all of the council. And you know what? This is what good governance does. It provides safe place for our children and for adults to meet and experience activities, you know, that they normally wouldn't. So good job for everybody. I appreciate it very much. All right, we'll see you again. So this ordinance will be 3037. It'll be coming back to us our next meeting. All right.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, discuss resolution number 2147, a resolution authorizing membership in the Atmos Cities Steering Committee and authorizing the payment of 5 cents per capita to the Atmos City Steering Committee to fund regulatory and related activities related to Atmos Energy Corporation. This is going to be handled by our City Secretary, Don Stahl.
Mayor and Council, the Atmos City Steering Committee is the largest coalition of cities served by Atmos Midtex. There are 185 ACSC member cities, which represent more than 60% of the total load served by Atmos Midtex. ACSC protects the authority of municipalities over the monopoly natural gas provider and defends the interests of residential and small commercial customers within the cities. Resolution 2147 authorizes the continuation of the city's membership in ACSC and authorizes payment of the city's assessment in the amount of 5 cents per capita. And this will come back next week.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on Resolution 2147 for Don? Hearing none, we will address this at our next council meeting for a vote. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Council, we may take all of those items at one time. If you so choose, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion from Phil Robinson, District 5, and a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is executive. We have no executive, so we are adjourned.